Welcome to the Deep Dive. We know you want to get smart about complex topics fast, without all the noise. And today, we got something really interesting, a study that gives us a fresh look at how young kids learn their letters, maybe even a more efficient way.
Yeah, exactly. We're digging into a study from the Educational Psychology Review, published just last August, so pretty recent stuff.
Right.
It's by Fernando Núñez-Reguero and a team of colleagues, and they really looked closely at kindergarteners in France, figuring out how they get to grips with the alphabet.
Right, and this wasn't just abstract theorizing, was it? They actually worked with kids.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They had 160 kindergartners, average age just over 5, about half girls, half boys.
Okay.
And they set up a proper experiment comparing different ways of teaching letters over 6 weeks.
And what kinds of methods? I heard it involved, like, getting kids moving.
It did. So they had 3 groups. One was the traditional pencil and paper approach.
The usual stuff.
Right. Then another group focused only on arm movements, like tracing letters in the air.
Interesting.
And the third group combined those arm movements with whole body actions, like walking letter shapes.
Wow, okay, so quite different ways of learning the same thing.
Definitely. And they measured the impact on 5 different areas, things like recognizing letters, writing them, that sort of thing.
Got it. So our mission today is basically to unpack what this study tells us. Does getting the body involved actually make a difference for these pre-reading skills? Is one way better than another?
That's the plan. Let's dive in.
Okay, so first off, what was the big question? What were these researchers really trying to figure out?
Well, at its core, they wanted to know if this idea of embodied learning, using your body to learn, like forming letter shapes physically, actually works better for young kids than just practicing with a pencil.
Right, the classic method versus something more active.
Exactly. And crucially, they weren't just asking if it was better, but also which kind of movement was most effective. Was just using the arms enough?
Or did you need the whole shebang, like walking the letters too?
Precisely. Did adding that whole body element give an extra boost? That was a key part of it.
Okay. And I think you mentioned, or I read somewhere, they were also looking at who benefited most. Like, did it matter how skilled the kids were to begin with?
Yes, absolutely. That was another important angle. They wanted to see if, say, the movement-based methods were particularly helpful for kids who came into kindergarten maybe knowing fewer letters, with lower initial skills.
Sort of an equity question almost. Could this help level the playing field?
That's a great way to put it. Could this approach offer a way to give those kids who might be struggling a bit more of a leg up? It's a really important consideration in education.
Definitely. Okay, so they had these questions. How did they actually set up the experiment with these kids? Let's talk about the 3 groups again, the pencil and paper one first. What did that involve day to day?
Sure. So that group did what you'd probably expect in many kindergartens. Lots of exercises using slates, paper, pencils. They'd be tracing letters, copying models the teacher provided, sometimes large letters, sometimes smaller ones on lines.
Okay.
Things like rewriting over a model letter, maybe on a plastic sheet first, then trying it on paper with dotted lines, and eventually attempting to write the letter from memory. Very much focused on that fine motor control.
Right, the traditional handwriting practice. Now, the arm training group, how did they do it without pencil and paper, just waving their arms around?
Well, a bit more structured than that. They focused on gross motor skills. So the teacher would model tracing a letter shape in the air with their whole arm,
Okay.
often verbalizing the movements, like big curve around for C, and the kids would imitate that motion.
So they're feeling the shape through movement.
Exactly. And they didn't just copy the teacher. They practiced on their own. They traced the shapes over their desks. And get this, sometimes they even did it blindfolded.
Blindfolded. How did that work?
A classmate would guide them verbally, like, okay, now go down, now across. So they really had to rely on that internal sense of the shape and the movement.
Wow, that sounds intense, but potentially really effective for locking it in. Okay, and the third group, the arm and body one.
So they did the arm tracing in the air, just like the second group.
Right.
But they also physically walked along large letter outlines marked out on the floor.
Okay. So like walking a giant S-curve.
Exactly. Sometimes following the outline visually, sometimes blindfolded with a peer guiding them, sometimes just trying it alone, and they might combine it, like walking the S while also tracing it with their arm.
So even more physical engagement.
That was the idea, engaging more senses, more of the body in the learning process.
And this went on for 6 weeks. That's a decent chunk of time.
Yes, 6 weeks of these specific training sessions.
And I assume the teacher was involved in all groups, providing the basic letter instruction. It wasn't just movement versus no movement in a vacuum.
Oh, absolutely critical point, yes.
Sure.
In all 3 conditions, the teacher actively demonstrated forming the letter, named it, talked about its sound, etc. That core instruction was consistent. The difference was the practice activity pencil, arm, or arm and body.
Okay, that makes the comparison much clearer. So we've got the setup. Now the big reveal, what did they find? Which method actually worked best overall?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting and maybe a bit surprising. The standout finding was that the group doing just the arm movement exercises.
Tracing in the air.
Yes, that group showed the greatest improvements across all 5 measures. They looked at letter recognition, writing quality, everything. The researchers used strong language, saying this approach bore the greatest acquisitions.
Just the arm movements. More effective than pencil and paper, and more effective than arm plus whole body.
That's what the data showed, yes.
Huh. That's counterintuitive almost. I might have guessed the whole body group would do best.
It's easy to think that more is better with physical activity, but here it seems the focused arm movements hit a sweet spot.
So how did the other 2 groups fare in comparison? Were they, like, way behind?
Well, both the pencil and paper group and the arm and body group did make progress. Learning happened in all groups, which is good,
Okay.
but the gains just weren't as large or as consistent across all the skills measured compared to the arm-only group. The arm movement training seemed to provide the most significant overall boost.
Fascinating. Okay, so that's the overall picture. What about that other question? Did it help certain kids more than others? You mentioned that compensatory effect.
Right. This is, I think, one of the most potentially impactful findings. They found that this benefit of the arm movement training was most pronounced for the students who started out with lower pre-reading skills.
Ah, okay. So the kids who were perhaps struggling a bit at the start.
Exactly. For those children, learning letters through these arm movements seemed to give them a bigger advantage compared to how lower-skilled kids fared in the other groups.
So it helped them catch up, essentially.
That's what the term compensatory effect implies here. It helped compensate for those initial lower skills, narrowing the gap between them and their higher-skilled peers within that specific training group.
Wow, that has huge implications for, classroom practice and helping all kids succeed.
It really does. It suggests this could be a powerful tool for differentiation and support.
Now, this study mentions some theories behind why this might work. Things like embodied cognition and cognitive load. Can we break those down a bit?
Sure. So embodied cognition is basically the idea that our thinking isn't just happening abstractly in our heads. Our bodies, our physical experiences, actually play a role in how we understand and process information.
Like the feeling of making the letter shape helps you remember it better than just seeing it.
Precisely. That physical action, that motor component, creates a different kind of memory trace, potentially a stronger one, because it's linking the visual form to a physical feeling in action. It's not just visual input anymore.
Okay, that makes sense. Almost like how you remember how to tie your shoes by doing it, not just by watching.
That's a great analogy. And then cognitive load, that theory is all about how much mental effort is required to learn something new.
Right. You don't want to overload the brain.
Exactly. A good teaching tries to manage that load. You need some challenge. But if there's too much information or complexity at once, learning can actually suffer.
So how does that relate to the arm movements being better than, say, the arm plus body movements?
Well, the researchers speculate a bit here, but the idea is that the arm movements might provide that helpful sensory and motor input without adding too much extra stuff to think about.
Okay.
Whereas the whole body movement, while involving more of the body, might also introduce distractions or additional cognitive demands like coordinating walking and arm movements, maintaining balance, spatial awareness on the floor.
I see. So it might have inadvertently split their focus or just added too much mental juggling?
Potentially, yes. The arm movement might have been just right, engaging enough physically to reinforce the letter shape, but simple enough not to overload their cognitive capacity. It kept the focus squarely on the letter form itself.
That explanation actually makes a lot of sense. Focused movement being key. Okay, so bringing it all together, what did the researchers conclude? What are the big takeaways, and where do they think research should go next?
They were clearly pretty positive about the findings. They highlighted that using these arm movement exercises seems like a really promising strategy for kindergarten teachers,
Yeah.
both for improving effectiveness, getting better results, and also for promoting equity because of that boost it gave to the kids starting with lower skills.
That equity point feels really important.
It does, but being good researchers, they also emphasize this isn't the final word.
Right, one study isn't proof positive.
Exactly. They called for more research to consolidate and replicate their findings. We need to see if this works in different schools, maybe with slightly different methods over longer periods. Does the benefit last? Does it translate to better reading later on? Those are still open questions.
Sure, science in action, build the evidence step by step. Okay, before we wrap up, could you maybe give us a slightly more concrete picture of what a kid in each group was actually doing? Just a quick example for each.
Definitely. So, pencil and paper group. Imagine a child sitting at a desk. They trace a large letter B on a worksheet. Then they practice writing smaller B's on lines below, maybe using dotted guides first, then trying it freehand.
Okay, very clear. Arm training group.
Picture a child standing up. The teacher says, let's make an A. The child uses their whole arm to draw a big triangle shape in the air, then adds the crossbar. They might do this several times, maybe eyes open, maybe eyes closed, maybe tracing it on their desk surface too. Cure movement.
Got it. And the arm body group.
Okay, now imagine a big letter P taped on the floor. The child walks down the straight line of the P, then walks around the curve. As they're walking, maybe they're also tracing that P shape in the air with their arm, coordinating both actions. Ah, okay. That paints a really vivid picture of the differences. And you mentioned earlier, after these specific exercises, they all did some common practice too.
Yes, that's important. On the days after their specialized training, all kids, regardless of group, did some similar activities.
Like what?
Things like writing the target letter on a small slate after the teacher showed it, practicing it on paper with a model, finding and circling the target letter mixed in with other letters, and writing it from memory.
Okay, so everyone got that baseline practice, which helps isolate the effect of the specialized training, the pencil, the arm, or the arm plus body part.
Exactly. It strengthens the conclusion that the differences they saw were likely due to those specific training methods.
Right. Okay, this has been fascinating. So, boiling it down for everyone listening, what's the main thing to take away from this deep dive? I think the big message is that getting kids' arms moving, specifically through tracing letter shapes in the air, seems to be a surprisingly effective, maybe even more effective way to build early letter knowledge and writing skills compared to traditional methods or even more complex whole body movements.
Yeah, that focused arm movement is key.
And crucially, it seems particularly beneficial for kids who might need a bit more support starting out, which points towards its potential for making classrooms more equitable.
That finding about arm only being better than arm plus body is still the one that surprises me most.
It is intriguing, isn't it? It really makes you think about optimizing learning.
It does. And maybe a question for everyone listening to ponder. Does this resonate with you, this idea of embodied learning? Think about times you've learned something new, maybe a sport, an instrument, even a complex concept. Did involving physical action help it stick? Could we use this idea more, not just in kindergarten, but elsewhere too?
That's a great question to reflect on. And if this has piqued your interest, you could definitely look into embodied cognition as a broader concept, or even track down the specific study by Nunez-Reguero and the team in the Educational Psychology Review. There's always more to learn about learning itself.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for breaking that down for us today. Really insightful stuff.
My pleasure. It was interesting to discuss.
And thank you all for joining us on the deep dive. We hope this gives you something valuable to think about. Until next time, keep exploring.